Peace and blessings. It is a Build-A-Boat Saturday. I guess you could tell. It's cold. It's 39 degrees, they say. Feels like 33 degrees, I suppose, according to the forecast. Anyway, I'm getting ready to go pick up Ray, get started. Won't be doing any epoxy work today. I think it's below where even I should use the fast setting. I mean, it says 40 degrees, and technically it'll be 40 degrees in one more degree. But no need. I got a lot of work done this week in terms of preparing frames, and today we've got a lot of other kind of work to do. Last Sunday actually, we had to adjust the keelson. The keelson was off. It was too high. It was too tall. Well, no, I'm sorry. It wasn't tall enough. Basically, I had used what I thought was my proper design logic. When I designed the boat, I knew it had a 7-foot freeboard and had approximately 2 foot 3 inches draft from the waterline to the bottom of the hull. So I said, okay, that's 9 foot 3. So I'll raise the keelson up to 9.6. Well, I didn't actually look at my drawings, and so my longest or largest frame sits approximately 9 foot 8 inches from the bottom of the hull to the top of the deck. So I need 9 foot 8 inches worth of space, but only had 9 foot 6. So last Sunday we adjusted the frame, the keelson, and all the frames that are attached. We lifted up to 10 feet and didn't set it right. So I've got to do some readjustments there before we start doing any work today. And let's see, we want to cut off the remainder of the floors off of the bottom of the frames that they're attached to, and put on the frames for the deck. Even though they're not permanent, they're just to make sure that the frames are the proper width apart as we continue to move aft, and make some cleats. So today is sort of like a staging day. If the temperature gets high enough, if it at least gets to 55 degrees, I may attach some frames, but we'll see. So stay tuned. All right, so we've just checked, and the keelson is level. So I thought it was off, but it's not. But it is off. Here, see that bubble? That bubble is saying that, come on, get in focus, bubble. There we go. Saying that this end is high, as we could tell by the eye anyway. So I'm hoping it's because when we set that brace right there, it's off at this end because that old block was in the way. So hopefully we'll remove this, pull that down, and that should level it out. So we'll see. All right, so now that we've got the keelson elevated higher, and we've got it perfectly leveled, both longitudinally and laterally, we're now cutting off the floors. So the floors, I'm kind of close here, the floors really get cut even with the frames. So Ray is up here and he's cutting that cut there, and we'll show you what that looks like from closer up, or from the other side. So he's marking his angles at the bottom and then at the top of the frame. He knows where to cut. Saw in place. Perfecto. Alright, something else I wanted to show you. I had to redo one of my frames this week. If you see, this frame here has a very thick, where is it at? Where's my finger? Come on, finger. This frame here has a very thick chime plate. It's a double chime plate. I had to redo that frame, and instead of removing the chime plate like I had done previously, I made it bigger. I had made an error this week, and so, actually last week, and so the frame I had made, I don't know how I made the mistake, but the length from the keelson to the first chine should have been 6'4", and I had cut it 6'6", so it was 2 inches too long. So I had to cut it back apart, cut off the 2 inches, and then relaminate it. Well, when I did that, I got a chance to see my my work. And so this is a piece of a frame that I cut off, about a 2-inch, a little bit less than 2 inches now, because of course you got the saw blade. But this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm building. This is a section of a frame. Hopefully we'll never get to see this. Won't make any more mistakes, but I am very impressed with that product. That looks like a commercially manufactured component. That does not look like something I made in my backyard. Or I guess it's officially my boatyard. I mean, that's wonderful. Look at that. And if you see here, this is the side where I nail, right? And the nail side, if you can see here, it's about this. I'm trying to pause. This is the glue joint at the bottom. This is the side I nail. If you see that glue joint right there, that epoxy joint is about, it's a 64th or a little bit heavy. I actually measured it. It's you know, a distinctive glue joint. If you look up here, this is the side that I screw, and the glue joint is substantially less. I mean, it's almost invisible, you know, right here. That very last line is the glue joint for the side that I screw. And it tells me one thing, that if I screw these, I'd save a lot on glue, and that would be good, but I'd spend a lot more on screws. So I thought that was just very interesting how that does. And actually, once I put the nails in, I do apply a little bit more pressure, sometime with the clamp, and sometimes just by hitting the nail and driving it in deeper, which gives me a good lamination. So I'm very happy with this product. And if you can see where I even cut right through the screw, and look at that. I mean, that is pretty good, man. I love that. So I'm very happy with these frames, where they're turning out. And just a comment, on BS 1088 plywood. If you see here, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good lamination. This is a 1/2 inch marine grade Doug fir. It is not BS 1088. If this was a British standard 1088, what's a 1080? Anyway, British standard plywood, this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 laminations to make this plywood. It would probably be 6 or 7 laminations, much thinner, but a much better veneer of wood. You can see here, this non-BS standard marine grade plywood, that's a little void. That's a little void there. It's not much of a void, but it's about 1/8 of an inch deep and about 1/8 of an inch square. And so what would happen eventually is that even if water didn't migrate in here, you still have air. And what's in air? Oxygen. And what's the most present thing in the galaxy, which is hydrogen? Eventually, you would get condensation in there, and that could freeze and thaw and freeze and thaw and cause a little delamination here. So that British standard, using much thinner veneers, gives you no voids. Now, of course, nothing is perfect, and this is actually pretty good. I only find these voids very infrequently, but they are there. And that's what you get when you don't pay for the British Standard plywood. And just to give it perspective, the British Standard plywood is probably not twice as expensive. This is half of an inch, and it's like $70 a sheet. I think the British Standard half inch might be $90 or so, maybe $100. Yeah, the British Standard's about maybe $90 to $100 for that same size plywood. I'm not really sure if they do Douglas fir. It would be Meranti or Okumi or something like that. But anyway, the British Standard is a third more expensive, but it's better quality. And if I was doing this in the hull, I'm using British Standard for my hull. Would not use this. I mean, again, nothing's perfect. Nothing's meant to last forever. So I know there are some, what's his name? The catamaran designer, Worm. James Worm says, use starboard plywood, use regular marine grade plywood, and you'll be fine. But, hey, taking an extra step to make my boat a little better. Not perfect, but a little better. So let's get back outside and get some more work done. Thought that was an interesting piece for you techie geeks. And also, there was a very good podcast this week on Sailing the Med by Franz Amerson. He talked about composite boats and composite materials, and I'm very happy with the materials that I've chosen for my boat. So if you want to listen to that, it's Sailing the Med with Franz Amerson. So go check that out. Now, back to work.